So, one of you recently asked me to talk a little bit about how I feel about what are sometimes called bridge cameras, was the term that was used. I'd never really heard that term before. I usually hear them as like prosumer cameras. Anyway, what she was talking about was cameras that kind of bridge the gap between compact point-and-shoot cameras and DSLRs like I use. And I actually have a blog post coming about this soon, because in reality I actually really am a huge fan of bridge cameras. And in fact, when I get a lot of people, at least once a week, somebody asks me, says, I'm getting a new camera, what should I get? And I almost always recommend what she was referring to as bridge cameras. In reality, I feel that a lot of the so-called compact point-and-shoot cameras have really been usurped by smartphones. I would never buy a compact point-and-shoot camera anymore, unless I was going somewhere that, I needed something with longer battery life than a cell phone. I really think that they're, for instance, the, oh god, what is it, the Lumia 1020 or whatever it is. I almost got that instead of an iPhone, even though I'm kind of an Apple guy, because it's a phenomenal camera. So I feel like the compact point-and-shoots are kind of losing their purpose. Conversely, DSLRs, I really advise people against them, because they really are for people who either already know about how photography works or who are willing to learn and put a lot of effort into learning. They are not, and I'm using the term idiots here to not in the way that usually people do, but they are not very good idiot-proof cameras, whereas a lot of the bridge cameras are. To use an SLR, the makers of those cameras assume that you kind of know what you're doing, so they are not very intuitive for the average beginner, or even kind of amateur, strong amateur. And as a result, I find a lot of people who jump straight from, a smartphone or a point-and-shoot camera to a DSLR often end up either taking worse pictures than they were before, or taking pictures that are pretty much at the same level that they were before. And because the thing is that DSLRs are not really meant to work in any kind of auto mode. They can, but they don't really take very good pictures that way. They're meant to be used by people who are adjusting the settings for different shooting situations and that kind of thing. And that's where bridge cameras come in. I feel that they are really the best of both worlds, and really they are the answer for, 95% of the non-professional photographers out there. And I actually know some professional photographers who use them. My mother has been a professional for 35 years, and even though she does still have a whole Nikon DSLR system, she actually shoots on a Sony Nex a lot of the time, which is a point-and-shoot, it's a mirrorless camera that's actually compact. She uses it a lot, takes phenomenal pictures, and it's easier to carry around. But anyway, I think that they're a great system. I've had several friends, I recommended them to several friends who bought them for Christmas this year, and they all love them. They generally are better at doing what you want them to do than a DSLR in terms of without spending a huge amount of money. For example, a friend of mine recently asked me about a camera for birding, and I recommended the Lumix FZ70 because it has something like a 26x optical zoom, which is, to get something like that for a DSLR, a lens like that, you're looking at an $8,000 or $10,000 lens, plus the camera. The Lumix FZ40, I think, is like $400, and it's a Zeiss lens. It's a very, very good lens. And a lot of people discredit things like that because, well, it's an all-in-one camera. Oh, I want a fancy camera. Well, in reality, in this case, you can't afford the kind of fancy camera that you would need to do that kind of work. And this does really very, very, very good telephoto work. He got it. He loves it. And the great thing is he could use it right out of the package. And he did start using it right out of the package. It didn't really take a whole lot to figure out how to set it up or how to use it. It works, even though I'm going to go up and teach him how to use it better soon. But just on auto mode, it takes great pictures. If he learns a little bit more about aperture and ISO and all that kind of stuff, it'll take even better pictures. And I really feel like that the bridge cameras are excellent, excellent thing. I highly recommend them for actually most people. Um, but anyway, so that's a really long-winded answer, but that's your answer as to how I feel about bridge cameras.